The training facility on Zephyr Prime stretched across 5 miles of metal and glass. Commander Min Jae-sung walked through the main corridor, his boots clicking against the polished floor. 3 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Defense Coalition. 3 months of proving themselves to alien species who saw humans as weak newcomers. Min Jae-sung had served 15 years as a Navy SEAL on Earth. He had fought in deserts, jungles, and frozen mountains. Now he commanded a mixed unit of human soldiers and alien warriors. The arrangement should have been simple: different species working together to protect the galaxy from threats. But nothing about galactic politics was simple. The Zephyrians made sure of that. Captain Vex-Tar stood in the center of the training arena, his 7-foot frame covered in natural armor plating. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world where only the strongest survived. Their bones were 3 times denser than human bones. Their muscles could generate forces that would crush steel. They had been the backbone of coalition military forces for over 200 years. They did not like sharing that position with humans. "Commander Min," Vex-Tar called out as the human approached. His voice carried through the arena like grinding stone. "Your species continues to disappoint in combat assessments." Min Jae-sung stopped 10 feet away from the Zephyrian. Around them, soldiers from 12 different species watched from elevated platforms. This was supposed to be a routine training exercise. But routine exercises did not usually have this many observers, especially not observers from the Coalition High Command. "My soldiers perform their duties adequately," Min Jae-sung replied. He kept his voice calm and level. Emotional responses were what Vex-Tar wanted. They would prove human weakness in the eyes of the other species. Vex-Tar laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a cliff. "Adequately? Your humans failed every strength test. They cannot carry standard coalition equipment. They tire after short distances. They break when struck by even minor impacts." Other alien voices murmured agreement from the viewing platforms. Min Jae-sung recognized several coalition generals among the crowd. This was not a training exercise. This was a trial. Humanity was being judged. "Physical strength is one aspect of military capability," Min Jae-sung said. "It is the only aspect that matters in real combat," Vex-Tar replied. He gestured to a weapons rack filled with training equipment. "Perhaps your humans would prefer to return to their small planet and leave real warfare to real warriors." The insult was calculated, direct enough to demand a response, but not quite hostile enough to violate coalition protocols. Min Jae-sung had expected this moment would come. The other species had been testing humanity since first contact. Physical tests, mental tests, endurance tests, all designed to find human limits. What they had not realized was that humans had been studying them in return. "What do you propose, Captain?" Min Jae-sung asked. Vex-Tar's predatory smile revealed rows of sharp teeth. "Single combat trials. Your best warriors against mine. Let the coalition see what humans are truly capable of." The arena fell silent. Single combat was an ancient Zephyrian tradition, but it was rarely used in modern military training. A formal challenge in front of coalition leadership carried serious political weight. Refusing would mark humanity as cowardly. Accepting would likely result in injured or dead human soldiers. Min Jae-sung looked up at the viewing platforms. General Kethvar, from the Centauri Collective, nodded slightly. Admiral Zex from the Void Runners leaned forward with interest. They wanted to see this fight. They wanted to know if humans could stand alongside their forces when real battles came. "I accept your challenge," Min Jae-sung said. Vex-Tar clapped his massive hands together. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. "Excellent. 3 trials. Best warriors from each side. Victory goes to the species that wins at least 2 contests." Min Jae-sung nodded. He had already chosen his fighters before entering the arena. Sergeant Kim Yoo-jin, an expert in close combat. Corporal Singh, who specialized in rapid tactical assessment. And himself. The first trial began immediately. Sergeant Kim faced a young Zephyrian warrior named Dex Mar. The rules were simple: unarmed combat until one fighter could not continue. Medical teams stood ready to treat injuries. Kim lasted 18 seconds. Dex Mar moved with surprising speed for such a large creature. His first strike cracked 2 of Kim's ribs. The second sent the human flying across the arena floor. Kim tried to get back up, but his body would not respond properly. The medical team carried him away on a stretcher. Whispers filled the viewing platforms. Some aliens sounded disappointed. Others seemed satisfied that their expectations about human weakness were being confirmed. Corporal Singh fared slightly better in the second trial. He managed to avoid direct hits for nearly a minute by using superior mobility and tactical thinking. But eventually, the Zephyrian caught him. One grab around the torso was enough to crack several vertebrae. Singh collapsed, unable to move his legs. 2 human soldiers defeated. The pattern was clear to everyone watching. And now, Vextar announced, the final trial. Your commander against me. Min Jae-sung stepped into the combat circle. He removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. Around the arena, alien voices discussed the inevitable outcome. Humans were simply not built for this kind of combat. Vextar towered over him by more than 2 feet. The Zephyrian's arms were thicker than Min Jae-sung's torso. His natural armor could probably stop small arms fire. This was not a fair fight by any measure. Last chance to surrender, human, Vextar said. I would hate to damage your commander permanently. Min Jae-sung took a fighting stance. He had studied dozens of hours of Zephyrian combat footage over the past 3 months. He knew their fighting patterns, their preferred strikes, their weak points. Not that the knowledge would help much against such overwhelming physical advantages. I am ready, he said. The arena fell completely silent. Coalition generals leaned forward to watch. This moment would determine humanity's place in the galactic military hierarchy. Win, and humans would gain respect as warriors. Lose, and they would be relegated to support roles forever. Vextar raised his massive fists and smiled his predatory smile. The final trial was about to begin. The combat circle measured 30 feet across. Sensor arrays around the arena recorded every movement for later analysis. Medical teams positioned themselves at safe distances. Emergency surgical equipment waited on standby. Everyone expected this fight to end badly for the human. Captain Vextar moved first. His species preferred direct attacks that used their natural advantages. Overwhelming force applied quickly to end fights before opponents could adapt. It was a strategy that had worked for centuries against other species. Min Jae-sung sidestepped the initial charge. Vextar's fist smashed into the arena floor where the human had been standing. The impact left a crater in the reinforced metal. Scattered applause came from some viewing platforms. The human had good reflexes. But everyone knew this was only delaying the inevitable. Vextar spun around with surprising speed. His backhand caught Min Jae-sung across the chest and sent him sliding across the floor. The human rolled with the impact and came up in a defensive crouch. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. First blood to the Zephyrian, announced the arena's automated system. More voices murmured from the viewing platforms. General Kethvar shook his head sadly. Admiral Zex looked bored. They had seen enough human defeats over the past 3 months. This would just be one more. Min Jae-sung wiped blood from his lip and studied his opponent. Vextar fought exactly like the training footage suggested. Powerful strikes aimed at center mass. Heavy reliance on reach and strength advantages. No wasted movement or fancy techniques, just brutal efficiency. The Zephyrian pressed his attack. A series of punches forced Min Jae-sung to backpedal around the circle. Each strike that connected drove the breath from his lungs. Each near miss left dents in the arena walls. The human was clearly outmatched in every physical category. But he was learning. Zephyrian combat doctrine emphasized quick victories. Their homeworld's harsh environment had not rewarded long, drawn-out conflicts. They preferred to end fights with decisive strikes rather than gradual attrition. This gave them a psychological advantage in most battles, but it also created predictable patterns. Min Jae-sung began to time his movements more precisely. He started avoiding strikes by smaller margins, conserving energy for critical moments. He stopped trying to block attacks that would break human bones, and instead focused on not being where those attacks landed. Vextar grew frustrated with the extended fight. His strikes became more aggressive and less controlled. He was used to opponents who either fled quickly or died quickly. Humans seemed determined to do neither. "Stop running, coward," Vextar snarled. "Face me like a real warrior." Min Jae-sung said nothing. He continued his careful retreat around the arena perimeter. His breathing was labored, and several ribs felt cracked, but his mind remained focused. Every movement Vextar made was being catalogued and analyzed. The crowd's patience began wearing thin. Alien voices called for more aggressive action. Some suggested the fight should be declared over due to obvious human inferiority. Others wanted to see a proper finish to justify their time watching. Vextar decided to end things decisively. He feinted with his left hand and brought his right fist up in a devastating uppercut aimed at Min Jae-sung's head. Full Zephyrian strength behind a blow designed to crush skulls. The kind of strike that had ended hundreds of previous fights. Min Jae-sung moved into the attack instead of away from it. The timing was perfect. Vextar's momentum carried him forward as the human stepped inside his guard. Min Jae-sung's position put him directly in the path of the uppercut. There was no way to avoid the strike. The impact sounded like a melon being crushed. Min Jae-sung's head snapped back at an impossible angle. His body went completely limp and collapsed to the arena floor. Blood pooled around his motionless form. His neck was bent at angles that no living creature could survive. Complete silence filled the arena. Vextar stood over the broken human body, breathing heavily. His right fist was covered in blood. Victory had come exactly as he had predicted, though it had taken longer than expected. "Medical emergency in the combat arena," the automated system announced. "All personnel stand clear for emergency response." Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor. Scanners and monitoring equipment surrounded Min Jae-sung's motionless form. The readings were not encouraging. No vital signs detected. Massive trauma to the cervical spine. Extensive cranial fractures. The human commander was dead. Shocked whispers filled the viewing platforms. This was supposed to be a training exercise, not an execution. Coalition protocols strictly forbade lethal force during interspecies combat trials. But Vextar had claimed self-defense. The human had moved into his attack rather than away from it. "Unfortunate," Vextar said loudly. "But this demonstrates why humans should not pretend to be warriors. Their bodies cannot withstand real combat. They're a Fanwan. Their bodies cannot withstand real combat." General Kethvar leaned back in his observation chair. The political implications were enormous. Humanity would demand justice for their commander's death. The Zephyrians would claim it was an accident during legitimate training. Coalition unity would suffer regardless of any investigation's conclusions. Admiral Zex stood up to leave. She had seen enough. The human experiment in galactic warfare was clearly over. Time to reassign human forces to support roles where their physical limitations would not be life-threatening. Other observers began filing out of the viewing platforms. The medical teams worked frantically over Min Jae-sung's body, but everyone could see their efforts were pointless. No amount of advanced medical technology could repair that level of damage. Vextar raised his blood-covered fist in triumph. "Let this be a lesson to all species. The Zephyrian military remains the strongest force in the coalition. We need no assistance from weak races who break at the first touch of real combat." Cheers erupted from the Zephyrian viewing section. Their species' superiority had been demonstrated once again. The natural order of galactic military hierarchy had been reaffirmed. Humans would return to their proper place as support personnel and technicians. The remaining human soldiers stood in stunned silence. Their commander was dead. Their species' reputation was destroyed. 3 months of careful diplomatic progress had been erased in 3 minutes of brutal combat. Sergeant Kim Yoo-jin, despite his own injuries, pushed through the crowd of medical personnel. He knelt beside Min Jae-sung's motionless body. Blood soaked through his uniform as he checked for any signs of life. Nothing. The greatest human military leader in the coalition was gone. Killed in front of representatives from every major galactic species. There would be no coming back from this defeat. Vex-Tar walked out of the arena to thunderous applause from his supporters. He had proven Zephyrian supremacy beyond any doubt. The human threat to established military order had been eliminated permanently. The medical teams finally stopped their revival efforts. Time of death was officially recorded. Commander Min Jae-sung's body was covered with a white sheet and prepared for transport back to Earth. Humanity's brief moment in galactic military circles was over. 2 hours after the arena incident, coalition emergency meetings filled every conference room on Zephyr Prime. Admiral Zex led the primary investigation committee. General Kethvar represented coalition military interests. Captain Vex-Tar sat at the defendant's table, still confident in his actions. The death was clearly accidental. Vex-Tar insisted. Combat trials always carry risks. The human chose to participate, despite obvious physical disadvantages. Recorded footage played on large screens around the conference room. The final moments were shown in slow motion, from multiple angles. Min Jae-sung stepping into the attack. The crushing impact. The immediate collapse. Everything appeared straightforward. Admiral Zex reviewed medical reports on her portable display. Massive cranial fractures. Complete cervical spine separation. No detectable brain activity. Death was instantaneous. End quote. A tragedy, but not a crime. Vex-Tar replied. Perhaps humans will learn from this experience and accept more appropriate military roles. The conference room doors opened without warning. Sergeant Kim Yoo-jin entered, walking normally despite his earlier injuries. Behind him came Corporal Singh, also moving without assistance. Medical scanners had showed broken bones and spinal damage just hours before. Gentlemen, Kim said, I think you should see something. A portable holographic projector activated in the center of the room. The image that appeared was Commander Min Jae-sung, very much alive and standing in what looked like a secured communication facility. The room fell silent. If you are watching this recording, Min Jae-sung's image said, then my apparent death in the arena has served its purpose. What you witnessed was not an execution. It was a carefully planned operation designed to expose Zephyrian intentions regarding human military personnel. Captain Vex-Tar leaped to his feet. Impossible. I felt his skull crush beneath my fist. Medical scanners confirmed his death. And human military doctrine includes extensive training in deception operations. The holographic Min Jae-sung continued. Crisis acting, staged injuries, and false death scenarios are standard techniques. What appears real to outside observers may be elaborate performance designed to gather intelligence. Admiral Zex stared at the hologram in shock. Are you saying that entire death scene was fabricated? Advanced holographic projection technology, combined with precisely timed pharmaceutical compounds and practiced physical acting, Min Jae-sung explained. The blood was synthetic. The impossible neck angle was optical illusion. The lack of vital signs was temporary chemical suppression. The recording paused as the real Min Jae-sung entered the conference room. He looked exactly as he had before the fight. No injuries. No signs of the brutal beating he had supposedly endured. The human body did take real damage during the fight, Min Jae-sung said to the stunned assembly, but nothing that could not be repaired with proper medical treatment and advanced healing compounds. General Kethvar found his voice first. Why go through such an elaborate deception? Because we needed to document Zephyrian true intentions regarding human coalition membership, Min Jae-sung replied. He activated additional recordings on the holographic display. These are conversations between Captain Vextar and other Zephyrian officers over the past month, planning to eliminate human military leadership through training accidents and combat mishaps. The recordings played for several minutes. Zephyrian voices discussed human weaknesses and how to exploit them. Plans to marginalize human forces until they left the coalition voluntarily. Strategies for making human deaths appear accidental during joint operations. Captain Vextar's natural armor plating darkened with embarrassment and rage. Those conversations were private military discussions, conducted on coalition communication networks that humans helped design, Min Jae-sung said. Networks that include monitoring systems for detecting security threats. Threats like planned assassinations of Allied officers. More evidence appeared on the holographic display. Zephyrian supply requisitions for combat equipment rated far above training standards. Medical preparations for treating severe human injuries. Emergency evacuation protocols specifically designed for human casualties. You planned this entire incident weeks in advance, Admiral Zex realized. The challenge, the observers, even the specific combat matchups. Human intelligence gathering is more sophisticated than most species realize, Min Jae-sung confirmed. We knew about Zephyrian plans before today's training exercise began. The question was whether to prevent the attack or use it to expose the broader conspiracy. The conference room erupted in angry voices. Accusations flew between different species representatives. Coalition unity appeared to be cracking under the weight of revealed betrayals and deceptions. Min Jae-sung waited for the noise to subside before continuing. Human military strategy emphasizes intelligence operations and psychological warfare. Physical strength is only one factor in determining combat effectiveness. Understanding enemy psychology and exploiting it through misdirection often proves more valuable than raw fighting capability. You made us all believe you were dead, General Kethvar said with a mixture of admiration and concern. The political implications could have been catastrophic. The political implications of Zephyrian assassination plans were already catastrophic. Min Jae-sung replied. This operation simply brought them into the open, where they could be addressed properly. Captain Vex's Tar slammed his fist on the conference table, cracking the reinforced surface. Deception and trickery are not legitimate military tactics. Warriors fight with strength and honor, not lies and manipulation. And that attitude is exactly why Zephyrian forces have been struggling against adaptive opponents in recent conflicts, Min Jae-sung said calmly. Physical strength means nothing if your enemies can predict your every move and manipulate your decisions. The truth of that statement was uncomfortable for many coalition species. Recent military failures had indeed involved opponents who seemed to anticipate coalition tactics. Enemies who used misdirection and psychological warfare to overcome superior firepower. What you call deception, we call strategic thinking, Min Jae-sung continued. The ability to plan several moves ahead, to sacrifice apparent advantages for greater long-term benefits, and to win battles through intelligence rather than raw force. Sergeant Kim activated additional displays showing human military innovations, stealth technology that made soldiers nearly invisible, advanced medical techniques that could heal apparently fatal injuries, communication systems that could intercept and decode enemy transmissions. Humans may be physically weaker than other coalition species, Min Jae-sung said. But our military capabilities extend far beyond simple combat strength. Pattern recognition, tactical adaptation, strategic deception, and technological innovation are our primary advantages. The evidence was overwhelming. Humans had not only detected and documented Zephyrian conspiracy plans, but had used that knowledge to stage an elaborate counterintelligence operation. They had turned apparent weakness into strategic advantage through careful planning and precise execution. The question now, Admiral Zex said slowly, is what this means for coalition military structure going forward. Min Jae-sung smiled. I believe humans have demonstrated capabilities that could benefit all coalition forces. If you are willing to learn from us. The revelation changed everything in the conference room. Captain Vextar stood accused of conspiracy to commit murder. His fellow Zephyrian officers faced charges of planning attacks against coalition allies. The carefully maintained hierarchy of galactic military forces was crumbling. This proves nothing, Vextar declared. Humans used deception to create false evidence. Their so-called intelligence gathering violated coalition privacy protocols. Min Jae-sung approached the conference table calmly. You are correct that human methods differ from traditional coalition approaches. Perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than arguments. He made a subtle hand gesture toward the conference room's main entrance. Nothing visible happened. But Admiral Zex noticed that the door's security indicators had changed from green to red. The room was now sealed from outside access. What is the meaning of this? General Kethvar demanded. Human special operations teams have been monitoring this facility since yesterday, Min Jae-sung explained. The same teams that recorded Zephyrian conspiracy planning and documented preparation for today's assassination attempt. Wall panels around the conference room slid open silently. Human soldiers emerged from concealment positions that no one had known existed. They wore advanced stealth suits that made them nearly invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. Each soldier carried weapons that none of the coalition species recognized. Impossible. Vextar breathed. This facility has the most advanced security systems in the coalition. No one could infiltrate without detection. Zephyrian security systems are designed to detect Zephyrian-level threats, Min Jae-sung replied. Human infiltration techniques operate on entirely different principles. Stealth technology, social engineering, and electronic warfare, instead of brute force approaches. The human soldiers positioned themselves strategically around the room. They made no threatening gestures, but their presence was unmistakable. Every exit was covered. Every potential weapon was accounted for. The coalition leadership was completely surrounded. This is an act of war, General Kethvar said, though his voice lacked conviction. This is a security demonstration, Min Jae-sung corrected. Human forces have been protecting coalition leadership for the past 3 days, without anyone's knowledge. The same protection will continue after this meeting ends. Admiral Zex activated her portable scanner and aimed it at the nearest human soldier. The readings were confusing. Her equipment detected a presence but could not determine species, weapon types, or even exact positioning. Human stealth technology was far more advanced than anything in coalition databases. How long have your people been watching us? She asked. Since the first day humans joined the coalition, Min Jae-sung admitted. Intelligence gathering and threat assessment are automatic human military procedures. We study potential allies just as carefully as potential enemies. More displays activated around the conference room. Detailed files appeared for every coalition species. Military capabilities, political structures, economic systems, technological levels, and psychological profiles. The depth of human intelligence gathering was staggering. You have been spying on everyone, Vextar accused. We have been learning about everyone, Min Jae-sung corrected. Understanding allies and enemies is essential for effective military cooperation. How can we protect species we do not understand? Well, Min Jae-sung, the files showed remarkable accuracy and insight. Human analysts had identified weaknesses in coalition military doctrine that even the species themselves had not recognized. Tactical blind spots, communication failures, technological gaps, and strategic limitations were all documented in precise detail. This level of intelligence capability suggests humans could have taken over the coalition at any time, Admiral Zex realized with growing concern. That assumption reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of human military philosophy. Min Jae-sung said. We do not seek to dominate other species. We seek to protect them more effectively than they can protect themselves. Captain Vextar's natural armor was darkening further with rage. Protection through deception and manipulation. These are not honorable military virtues. Honor does not protect civilians from enemy attacks, Min Jae-sung replied. Honor does not prevent military disasters caused by poor intelligence. Honor does not win wars against opponents who use every available advantage. One of the human soldiers approached the conference table and set down a small device. When activated, it projected a three-dimensional map of the local star system. Red indicators marked dozens of positions around Zephyr Prime. For the past month, this system has been under observation by forces unknown to Coalition intelligence, the soldier reported. Stealth ships, monitoring stations, and reconnaissance drones. Someone is planning a major military operation. The map zoomed in to show details that Coalition sensors had never detected. Enemy vessels, hiding in asteroid fields. Listening posts, positioned near major shipping routes. Preparation for what appeared to be a full-scale invasion. Coalition early warning systems detected none of these threats, Admiral Zek said with growing alarm. Coalition early warning systems are designed to detect known threat patterns from documented enemy species, Min Jae-sung explained. These infiltrators are using techniques that Coalition databases do not recognize. The implications were terrifying. While Coalition leadership had been focused on interspecies politics and military hierarchies, real enemies had been positioning themselves for attack. Traditional Coalition intelligence methods had failed completely. How long before they strike? General Kethvar asked. Approximately 18 hours. The human soldier replied. Based on observed preparation patterns and communication intercepts. The conference room erupted in panicked voices. Emergency protocols needed activation. Military forces required immediate mobilization. Coalition homeworlds demanded warning of the impending attack. Our current military doctrine cannot respond effectively to this type of threat, Admiral Zex admitted. Traditional tactics will not work against enemies using unknown techniques. Human military doctrine specializes in exactly this type of scenario, Min Jae-sung said. Asymmetric warfare against opponents with unknown capabilities. We can coordinate Coalition defense if you are willing to accept human strategic leadership. The choice was clear. Coalition forces could attempt traditional responses and likely fail. Or they could trust human strategic capabilities and possibly survive. The evidence of human intelligence and planning abilities was overwhelming. Captain Vextar was the first to speak. If humans can protect Coalition worlds, then personal pride is irrelevant. I place Zephyrian forces under human command. Other Coalition representatives quickly agreed. The coming battle would test whether human strategic thinking could overcome superior enemy numbers and technology. Everything would depend on the tactical principles that humans called asymmetric warfare. Min Jae-sung activated his communication system. All human forces. This is Commander Min. Initiate Operation Galactic Shield. Coalition integration protocols are now in effect. The real war was about to begin. The next 18 hours changed galactic warfare forever. Human Strategic Command transformed the Coalition military from a collection of individual species forces into a unified tactical organism. Traditional command structures dissolved as human intelligence networks took control of battlefield coordination. Commander Min Jae-sung established his headquarters in the deepest levels of Zephyr Prime's command center. Holographic displays showed real-time positions of enemy forces throughout the star system. Human intelligence assets provided updates every few minutes as hostile vessels moved toward attack positions. Enemy fleet composition is unlike anything in Coalition databases, reported Lieutenant Park Soo-jin, the chief intelligence analyst. 67 vessels of unknown design using stealth technology that exceeds even human capabilities. Admiral Zex, studied the tactical displays with growing concern. Our combined fleet numbers, less than 40 ships. Traditional naval doctrine suggests we cannot win this engagement. Traditional naval doctrine assumes direct confrontation between equivalent forces, Min Jae-sung replied. Human doctrine assumes that direct confrontation is the least effective option available. The human battle plan unfolded across multiple holographic screens. Instead of meeting the enemy fleet in open combat, coalition forces would use misdirection, false targets, and strategic withdrawal to fragment enemy formations. The real battle would be fought through intelligence, warfare, and tactical deception. Zephyrian forces will create the appearance of desperate last stands at predetermined coordinates, Min Jae-sung explained. This will draw enemy attention, while human stealth vessels maneuver into optimal striking positions. Captain Vextar nodded grimly. His people understood desperate last stands. What they were learning was how to make those stands serve larger strategic purposes, rather than simply demonstrating courage in defeat. The battle began exactly as human intelligence predicted. Enemy vessels emerged from concealment and advanced toward major coalition installations. Their formation was disciplined, and their technology was advanced, but their tactics followed predictable patterns. They expect us to meet them head-on, observed General Kethvar from the tactical command station. Standard defensive postures protecting fixed installations, which is exactly what we appear to be doing, Min Jae-sung confirmed. Coalition vessels had taken defensive positions around Zephyr Prime and other key targets. From enemy perspective, the coalition was following exactly the defensive doctrine that had failed in previous conflicts. The deception worked perfectly. Enemy forces committed their main strength to attacking what appeared to be coalition defensive lines. They concentrated firepower on obvious targets while ignoring areas that seemed to contain only empty space. Those empty areas contained human vessels using advanced stealth technology. All units, commence Operation Hammer Strike, Min Jae-sung ordered. Human ships materialized from apparent nothingness throughout the enemy formation. They had been positioned for hours in optimal striking locations, invisible to enemy sensors and waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. Coordinated strikes hit enemy vessels from directions they had not even considered defending. Impossible, Admiral Zex breathed as she watched the tactical displays. 37 enemy vessels, disabled or destroyed in the first 60 seconds of engagement. The remaining enemy forces tried to adapt to the sudden appearance of human attackers, but their command structure was already fragmenting. They had prepared for traditional coalition tactics, not for warfare that used misdirection and surprise as primary weapons. Zephyrian forces, following human tactical coordination, struck at exactly the right moments to maximize confusion among enemy ranks. Instead of pointless charges against superior firepower, they executed precisely timed attacks that supported human strategic objectives. Enemy command vessel is attempting to withdraw, Lieutenant Park reported. Shall we pursue? Negative, Min Jae-sung replied. Allow them to escape. Survivors who report back to their leadership will describe human tactical capabilities. That intelligence will influence enemy planning for future encounters. The battle lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Coalition casualties were minimal. Enemy losses were catastrophic. More importantly, the engagement demonstrated that traditional galactic warfare doctrine was obsolete when facing opponents who understood human strategic principles. 3 days later, the formal restructuring of Coalition Military Command was announced. Commander Min Jae-sung was promoted to Supreme Allied Strategic Commander, with authority over all coalition military forces. Human tactical doctrine became the foundation for new training programs across all species. The changes will not be easy, Admiral Zex admitted during the transition ceremony. Many species take pride in traditional military approaches. Pride in tradition is valuable, Min Jae-sung replied. But pride in victory is more valuable. Humans do not seek to replace other species' military cultures. We seek to enhance them with strategic capabilities that improve survival rates. Captain Vex Tar approached the new Supreme Commander with formal Zephyrian military honors. I apologize for my earlier actions and attitudes. I did not understand that human weakness was actually strength applied through different methods. Physical strength and tactical strength serve different purposes, Min Jae-sung said. Your people provide capabilities that humans cannot match. Our people provide capabilities that supplement yours. Together, we are stronger than either species alone. The ceremony concluded with representatives from all coalition species, pledging support for the new unified command structure. Human strategic principles would guide overall tactical planning, while individual species would contribute their unique capabilities to combined operations. Over the following months, coalition military effectiveness improved dramatically. Enemy forces that had previously achieved easy victories found themselves outmaneuvered and defeated by opponents who seemed to anticipate every move. The galaxy's balance of power shifted as human intelligence networks identified and eliminated threats before they could fully develop. We have received communication from the Andromedan Collective, Lieutenant Park reported during a routine briefing, 6 months after the Zephyr Prime incident. They wish to negotiate alliance terms. The Andromedan Collective had been the Coalition's primary enemy for over 50 years. Their decision to seek peace negotiations represented a fundamental shift in galactic politics. They had realized that continued conflict with human-led coalition forces would result in their eventual destruction. Schedule the negotiations for next month, Min Jae-sung ordered. And Park, make sure our intelligence teams understand everything about Andromedan psychology before those meetings begin. Admiral Zex smiled. Still gathering intelligence on everyone? Understanding potential allies and enemies remains essential for effective protection, Min Jae-sung replied. The methods do not change. Only the scale of application. The transformation was complete. Humanity had evolved from rejected newcomers to essential coalition leadership. Physical strength still mattered in galactic warfare, but strategic intelligence mattered more. The combination of human tactical thinking with alien capabilities created military forces that no enemy could match. In the depths of space, human monitoring stations continued their vigilant watch for new threats. Intelligence networks gathered data on species and civilizations that had not yet encountered coalition forces. Preparation for unknown dangers continued as automatic human military procedure. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Physical power meant nothing without the intelligence to use it effectively. Real strength came from understanding enemies better than they understood themselves, and from turning apparent weaknesses into strategic advantages. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through superior weapons or advanced technology, but through superior thinking. The greatest weapon in any arsenal was the mind that knew how to use all the others.